Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey is always top shelf. Whether you got your start as a Dynasty veteran, a Millbury survivor, or you were born into the Church of Trotz, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, here are your eclectic hosts, Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Sunday, January 10th, 2021. Coming at you live from the Hockey Night in New York studios on Long Island. Big show coming up for you tonight. Lots of news to talk about. We have the start of the season right around the corner, and Mr. Brian Compton from NHL.com will be joining us. We'll be talking to him in about 15 minutes. And a fellow named Matt Barzal put pen to paper. We'll be talking about that. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me, as always, is Mr. Christian Arnold. Christian, how are you?
I'm good. There's a lot going on, a lot to write about, a lot to talk about.
Yes,
Can't be better at the moment.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight for our second edition of the Twitch broadcast here at Hockey Night New York. And we also want to remind everybody that we are sponsored by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Head on over for great food, great people, and great service. Check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com. Also want to thank Thai Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services to businesses across the country. If you're tired of dealing with long hold times and the impersonal service of companies like Spectrum, Optimum, and Verizon, give Thai Technology a call at 516-856-7800 for 3 free months of service. Also want to thank our brand new sponsor through Go Hockey Media, the Hewlett House of Tires, located at 1740 Rockaway Avenue in Hewlett, offering a free tire rotation with oil change and $20 off tire alignment. Just mention the Hockey Night New York podcast when you stop in or call for an appointment. You can also check them out at HewlettHouseOfTires.com. And Christian, we also have a little more housekeeping to go over before we start the show. A couple of exciting things to announce, or fun stuff that's going on. So let's see. We'll start off with what do we got here? And of course, I can't find it. Oh no, we're talking about that later. We moved that to later in the show. See, I'm so ahead of myself here. We'll talk about that stuff later on. Let's jump into the meat of it. Matt Barzal has signed his contract. 3 years, $7 million per, $21 million total. Everybody can finally rest easy. And like I said at the top, games are just about to get underway. The season starts on Wednesday. The Islanders season starts against the Rangers on Thursday. What do you say, CA?
Well, I think everyone's breathing a sigh of relief after a couple of tenuous weeks for Islander fans, I guess you could call them. People constantly asking where Matt Barzal was, if he was out on the ice. And now we have a conclusion to that scenario. Barzal signs a 3-year, $21 million contract extension. Actually was willing to, and apparently was in the works of trying to, they were trying to sign him to a longer-term deal, and just because of the current financial situation of the National Hockey League and the everything that's going on because of COVID, it just wasn't in the cards. Obviously, the Islanders have a very tight cap situation and a lot of fiscal maneuvering to get done to get him signed, to say the least.
Yeah, and we saw Dave Pagnotta of the fourth period. He had mentioned that the Islanders were looking to wheel and deal a little bit, try to unload some more contracts, so it looks like that might have been directly related to Barzal and his contract. Maybe, as I tweeted, actually, we might have seen a higher average annual value over the course of maybe, longer years. I think it might have been David, actually, who mentioned maybe a 6-year potential deal. I know somebody threw that out there.
I believe it might have been Darren Dreger, actually. Who was
yes, that's right. It was Dreger on that.
Yeah.
Right. So we might have seen a 6-year deal. And unfortunately, Louis couldn't get anybody to bite on unloading, I suppose, a guy like Komarov.
I think the news you're referring to as well was the fact that apparently the Detroit Red Wings and the Islanders had some sort of deal in the works.
Is that right?
And this was according to the fourth period and Dave Pagnotta.
I did not see this.
That they had a deal in the works, and that unfortunately they claimed a player for the Islanders. Unfortunately, they claimed a player off waivers, and that essentially killed the deal. Ooh. I forget which specific player it was today. But
I missed that.
But it was something that was out there, that there was potentially a deal for Thomas Hickey in the works, and that kind of fell through. But certainly, I think everyone's excited and happy to have Mathew Barzal back on the island for 3 more years at the term he is. I know, Barzal was spoke to us yesterday. He expressed his excitement, to say the least, about being on Long Island.
Yeah, had a lot of good things to say.
Playing here. So, and obviously the players are thrilled to have him back. And I think that there was no doubt in their mind. Obviously, they made that pretty clear on Sunday during what I guess you would call Islanders Media Day, before camp really opened up and before the on-ice workout started. So I don't think there was really any doubt in people that know Matt Barzal or that were directly involved with this deal coming together. But certainly it ends the tension, and certainly, like I said, a sigh of relief for a lot of Islander fans.
Yeah, it obviously got done a little later than everybody would have liked. And I think, though, another thing that people can rest easy over is we kind of came to learn that it really wasn't a holdout. It had nothing to do with being at odds.
Financials, yeah.
It was literally just
the money.
It was literally just figuring out a way to get under this cap that, let's be honest, nobody in the league knew was coming, right?
Yeah.
The flat cap, everybody, before COVID started, everybody thought that it would go up like it usually does every year, and there'd be more wiggle room. Devontae might still be an Islander, and yada, yada, yada. So Lambertville was actually trying to lock this guy up, their star player, for longer, tried his best. They held out as long as they could, didn't work out. So they probably had this agreement already, even before camp started. And it was just like, let's wait it out and see what we can do.
From the reporting that I saw, that they had been trying to work up to a longer term. They had been trying to work on a longer term deal up to the start of training camp, and then the focus shifted from that to a shorter term deal that everyone could be happy with. And it obviously took a couple extra days than people liked, but Barzal was out there. He looked good. Obviously, the first day of camp for him on Saturday, he was out there. He scored a couple goals in the Islanders scrimmage there. I think that was their third scrimmage of the training camp so far. And, he looked like he hadn't really missed a beat. Now, obviously, it was...
And he was skating on his own.
Right. He was skating actually with a couple people, Tom Kuhnackel, Johnny Boychuk, and Dennis Seidenberg, who obviously...
Seidenberg's still hanging around, huh?
Well, he's been such a big part of Mathew Barzal's development as well. If you remember back to his rookie season, he was living in Dennis Seidenberg's house with his family.
It's kind of been a thing with the Islanders, and I imagine it's probably this way with other teams in the league, but you get guys who might have been even well past their career with the team, right? Like, if you go back years, I remember Miro Shatan would skate with the team after he was done.
Yeah.
Radek Martinek forever.
Every year you saw a story, it was Radek Martinek signing because he would skate at Iceworks. And
right.
People would get up in arms. But it's kind of the norm. A lot of these guys, they come here, they love being on Long Island, they love being around the organization, and the organization in turn gives them a place to work out and still kind of be in a little bit of that grind that they're so used to. And, a lot of the guys talked about earlier this week about Johnny Boychuk still being around the team and that they were excited about that. So it's not a surprise that these guys are still there and working. And obviously that's a huge benefit for still a young player like Mathew Barzal.
It almost seems like there's a quiet expectation for Boychuk to get a role with the team beyond his playing days.
Yeah, I think that they're still trying to figure everything out. He still technically hasn't been assigned LTR, retirement, anything like that. And I think the assumption
when does that have to be official?
I believe it's Tuesday.
Okay.
I believe it's Tuesday when
Makes
everything
sense,
kind
day
of has
before
to
the
be,
season?
Yeah, it has to be cap compliant. And I know there are a couple people in the chat room now, in the Twitch chat room, talking about, well, when's the deal for Matt Green going to be announced? Andy Green.
Who's Matt Green?
Those deals are same with Corey Schneider. Those deals are agreed upon, but they're not necessarily on the Islanders' books yet. And the same thing with Mathew Barzal, I'm pretty sure. The Islanders, well, the way it was phrased to us is that he has agreed to terms for the new deal. We never got an official announcement that deal has been signed. And I think that's, again, working towards the team has to get cap compliant. They have to figure out what they're doing with Johnny Boychuk's contract, assuming, again, it's placed on LTIR, and then they have to be compliant with the LTIR
Well,
rules.
they basically, in order to maximize the, I suppose, returned cap space, if you will, that they're going to get from the Boychuk contract, they have to go essentially as close to the amount of his contract as possible over the cap.
Yes, exactly.
And that way they kind of have that space moving forward. So I'm sure Lou and company are just, working on the paperwork there, and they'll probably get it to fit right there. I'm sure that that $7 million figure probably works into 100%. That very much. And we've already, even though it hasn't been officially announced, it looks like $1.5 million for Matt Martin.
Right. Yeah, which was a bit of a surprise.
Right.
Not necessarily, I guess,
you got the $700K for Schneider. We don't know what Green's getting, but I think it's all going to add up to roughly that number above the cap.
So, and possibly another addition somewhere along the line too. But that's the thing. That's why these deals, so for the people asking in the chat, that's why these deals aren't on Cap Friendly or Puck PD or those cap sites, because they're not officially not right. They're not technically not official. Again, I believe that's the case with Mathew Barzal. Yeah, I believe that's the case with Mathew Barzal, but I'm not. But that's the case with Martin and Green and Corey Schneider and those guys.
Okay, all right, so. It's everybody gets to breathe a sigh of relief now. Matt Barzal is back. He's scoring goals at camp. And, just in time, he gets a couple of days. Now, I know we talked about this before we went live. Now, we don't know when camp is officially over.
I think it's Tuesday.
It's gotta
I think
be.
the
Yeah,
last
it's
day of
gotta be the
training
next
camp.
day or two, right?
But I mean,
So maybe he
the
gets a couple
decision-
more skates in with the
decision
team.
day. I think is coming pretty close. The Islanders aren't skating as far as I know tomorrow, so they have a day off, and then they're back on the ice on Tuesday, the day before the season officially begins on Wednesday. So certainly a lot of decisions. There's a lot of push by the young kids on the team. Barry Trotz has talked a lot about them this training camp during the media availabilities, and I think for Islander fans, I know they were people. A lot of people were excited to see J.G. Pajot centering a line of Oliver Wahlstrom and Kieffer Bellows. That
Yeah, we'll talk about that for sure.
Certainly sent a lot of excitement through the Twitterverse. So
yeah.
there is, it seems like a legitimate chance, at least right now, that one or both of them make that opening night roster at the very least. If not, I should say at the very least they're on the taxi squad and they're here and they're given an opportunity to play at some point, because as we've seen through all of this, there's an opportunity for guys to get in at some point. We're seeing, COVID issues come up now the first couple of days of camp, and for other teams, I should say. And obviously injuries are going to rear their ugly heads as well during the course of a season. We even may have one off the bat.
Right, you're talking about number 53, Casey Cizikas.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I'll say about the Barzal contract before we break for Brian is, we talked about that potential long-term deal. It's great to hear that he came out and said he was more than willing to sign that deal.
Yes.
He said he loves it on the island. He loves playing on the team. It's fun to play on the team. It's fun to be on the island. It's really refreshing to hear your star players say that. And, yeah, you get a lot of lip surface from stars. Like, not that the Islanders have ever had any experience with that prior. But
I'm not going to go there.
Sure, but it's nice
Someone
to hear
did mention that to me on Twitter. I wrote a story about how Barzal showing he really does enjoy playing on Long Island, and someone goes, "Well, there's a certain snake that," and I was like, "All right, I'm just going to leave that alone."
He even used the reptile.
Yes, yeah.
Word. All right. Well, folks, we got a break for Brian, so I want to thank you all for tuning in to Hockey Night in New York on twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY, and we'll be right back.
In New York with Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching Hockey Night New York. Joining us right now from NHL.com is Mr. Brian Compton. Brian, thanks a lot for coming on with us, pal. How we doing?
Doing great. How are you guys?
Doing all right. Thanks for joining us here on twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. Getting everything sorted over here. Training camp is towards the end. The big news right now is Matt Barzal is signed. So why don't we start there, Brian? What do you think about the contract being done and the terms that he signed to?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. This has been out there for a while that it would be in the 2 to 3 year range at the $6 or $7 million mark, and that's what we saw. Matt came out and told us that he would have signed long term if it could have worked out, but obviously Lou could not find deals for guys like Hickey or Komarov, so here we are. But they have 3 years to work on that stuff, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, now that he's in the fold, he missed a couple of days at camp. You think that's going to have any effect here out of the gate for the team, or you think he's going to hit the ground running with these guys?
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. I asked Barry about it the other day, and he wasn't too concerned about it. Matt had been skating here on the island for a little bit. He came early to quarantine and get all that stuff out of the way. He's been skating with guys like Seidenberg and Kuhnhackl and Boychuk. So, is that the same as skating with the guys that he has the past couple of days? No, but we know the kind of athlete and the kind of shape that Matt's in. So I'm sure there won't be any issues there.
Brian, always good to chat with you. I mean, I say that genuinely excited to talk to you because we haven't talked in so long. How are you? First of all, it's been too long, buddy.
I'm doing great. Well, we have to speed this up because bedtime's what, 8:30?
Oh wow!
Wow.
Don't miss you anymore, Brian. That's for sure.
Brian? What's the expiration date on that joke, by the way?
Never, because I'm always going to be 20 years older than him. So
well, you are an old man, so I mean, I guess 8:30 is your bedtime.
I don't hide that, Christian. I know how old I am. I don't hide it.
Brian,
did you have a question?
I did. I was getting to it until you rudely interrupted me.
Oh, jeez.
A lot of the conversation outside of the Matt Barzal talk the last 24, 48 hours has been the excitement, I guess, around the kids, and obviously Kieffer Bellows and Oliver Wahlstrom doing so well in training camp, and the fact that we saw them on JG Pajot's line this afternoon. What do you make of that? And I know I forget if it was you or Arthur who asked Barry if that's something we should be reading into. But what do you make of it, and do you think this is something that we'll see come opening night?
I don't think that this was the plan going into camp, but I think Barry's mentioned Kieffer by name a few times, Christian, as you know, over the past few days. He's really forcing his way onto this team. Andrew and I were commenting on it this morning. We were at the rink, and he has really stood out. You notice him when he's out there, and then I don't mean that in a bad way. It's a good, sometimes when you're noticeable, it's bad, right? But Kieffer's been really, really good. Wahlstrom scored a goal today on Sorokin that, quite frankly, should have been stopped. But Trot said that Ollie's been good as well. So we don't know what that third line is going to look like yet. We asked JG about it today. He's been thrown all over the place during this camp, especially before Barzal signed. I mean, he was playing with Leon Eberle at the beginning. So, Trotz loves Leo. I know fans don't want to hear that. We don't know if he's going to be on the taxi squad or whatever, or perhaps he still gets moved here in the next couple of days. I don't think that's going to happen, but there's a lot of options there. But, good for Kieffer after everything that we saw, last summer. And, he had a couple of goals during that cup of coffee he had last season. Wahlstrom's a big boy. He's already got NHL size. So there's options here, and good on these two young kids for, making an impact over the past week.
First of all, what is this? This is the second time I've heard you use this phrase, a cup of coffee. You used it on the call the other day too. What the heck does that mean? You
don't know what that means, really? No. Well, you're not old enough to drink coffee yet, right? So it means he had a brief stint in the NHL last season, Christian. That's what that means.
All right. Well, talking with Brian Compton of NHL.com and professional old man linguist over here.
Wow.
Brian, I want to switch gears a little bit to the blue line as well. When we talk about the young guys on this roster, certainly a lot of focus has been on Noah Dobson, but there were a couple guys that stood out aside from Noah Dobson, especially today during that scrimmage.
Yeah, Bolduc's a big kid. I remember watching him last year, too. He moves around pretty well. He's got a good stick. And Bodie Wild is a really talented kid who just hasn't had a whole lot of luck the past couple of years. But and that's another thing about this blue line. Who's going to be the seventh guy, right? I mean, Aho, I thought, looked really good today as well, Christian. So, it's not – Thomas Hickey is a great guy. And quite honestly, I hope he lands somewhere because he deserves to play. And he's been through a lot over the last year between being sent down and then losing his brother. You just hope that he finds a situation where he can get some ice time. But, these younger kids, they have to play eventually, particularly Aho, who's been dynamite in Bridgeport the past couple of years. But with the 6 healthy guys, who knows how much Aho is even going to play. So there's a lot of things that have to be sorted out. But the Islanders, for the first time in a long time, have a really good crop of young defensemen in the pipeline. It's good to see.
Yeah, for sure. And one of those guys, Noah Dobson, he's getting some time on the power play here in training camp. And I know you were there today, and they worked on special teams today. Was there anything interesting you saw in the lineups there, or just even, how they were running things on the special teams?
No, nothing really stood out. I think the one thing to watch once the season gets underway is the unit with Dobson and Pollock. I think that could be really, really special. He's trying to set up the old situation, or still the current situation in Washington with Carlson and Ovi, just having Pollock in the left circle and Dobson feeding him and just let him bomb away. Ovi tends to hit the net a little bit more than Ryan has. Hopefully that's something that will be rectified this coming season and beyond. But Noah Dobson is ready for prime time. I think he's set to have a pretty big season with these guys.
The coaching staff and the general manager certainly seem to think so, Brian. That's been one of the themes on these calls of obviously when we spoke with Lou the other week and Barry the last couple days during training camp. Certainly there's a lot of expectation. But I did want to just circle back to Sebastian Aho because I feel like he's such an interesting figure in the organization. He's a guy that's really talented. And there's no question about it when you look at his stats down in Bridgeport, his success down in Bridgeport. But he just, as the phrase you use, he doesn't seem to get his chance to have a cup of coffee up here in the NHL. I hope I used that right.
You did. Good job by you.
Thank you. How does he kind of crack the lineup and get into the rotation here? It's a tough spot for him because there are a lot of talented defensemen in the Islanders organization. How does he kind of break through and get a chance up here?
Yeah, I think it's either one of two things. One would be Dobson completely falters, which I don't see happening under any circumstances, or injuries. Everybody, it always happens. It happens to everybody, right? So is Aho going to play 50 games? Probably not, but you just never know. Pelech has an injury history, God forbid. There's just you just don't know what's going to happen. But I think Aho's a guy who deserves a chance somewhere, but because of the depth that they have on that blue line, even after losing a guy like Devon Toews, it's going to be tough for him to crack the lineup here.
Brian, the other note from camp today obviously was something that Sean and I alluded to early in the program, and that was the Casey Cizikas injury that. Injury in the sense that he seemed like he got hurt. It appeared to be somewhat of a hand or a wrist injury from what I saw that you were tweeting today. Any update aside or any thought of how concerned Islander fans should be as far as that particular situation?
Yeah, it was hard to see what happened when it happened, but it sounded bad judging by the way Casey screamed. And it was scary for a minute there because he was down for probably a good 60 to 90 seconds before he got up. But I guess the one positive thing is that he didn't skate to the room. He skated to the bench, and he sat there for a while with the trainer. It was late in the scrimmage. And then once the scrimmage ended, he skated to center ice where Trotz was. He told him what happened. And instead of, sitting at center ice with the rest of the guys for the rest of the warm-ups, he skated right to the room. So Trotz wanted him off the ice. So afterwards, Trotz said that first indications were more positive than negative. They're off tomorrow, as you know, so maybe we'll get more of an update on Tuesday.
Talking with Brian Compton. You can follow him. I don't know why you would want to, but you can follow him on Twitter.
No, you know what? That's a fair one.
At BComptonNHL. And Brian, I got to apologize. I stuttered through that last question because all of a sudden I'm looking at Sean because I got to look somewhere. And all of a sudden, he just broke out food. He just started eating while you were answering your question.
What's the matter?
What are you doing?
Is it something from the deli at least?
It looks like. Sean, what are you doing?
Oh,
have a guest.
That's the BCompQ.
Good for you, buddy.
Oh, my God.
Good for you, buddy.
That's the BCompQ from Blue Line Deli Bagels.
Did you get me one?
Boy.
No. Sorry, man. It's just for me. Yeah. That's the sandwich that's named after you, Brian. That's what I was just eating.
Good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
On the line, Brian Compton from NHL.com. Brian, continuing the conversation, obviously switching gears here a little bit. We were talking about standouts before. Aside from, I guess, some of the usual suspects, I guess you could say, anyone else kind of stand out while you were there today, sitting through what is now the Islanders' fourth scrimmage of training camp?
I think Ryan Pollock is going to take another step defensively. I think he's going to become one of the upper echelon defensemen in the league. I just really like the way that he looked today. He doesn't get any of the fanfare because he doesn't put up those John Carlson type of numbers. But I think as we go on here, if they can build on the power play that they had during the playoffs, as opposed to what we saw in the regular season last year, you could see some pretty special things from Ryan Pollock this year, I would think.
Love to hear that. And I think you're right. I think he's got a bigger ceiling that we haven't seen yet. But
yeah.
Now I was busy eating there for a little while, so forgive me if I missed it. But did we talk about Casey Cizikas yet and what his status is?
We did.
We did.
Jesus, man, bad job by you,
dude. I was really focused on that
as
sandwich.
As good as that sub is, just put it down for 5 seconds, will you?
Dude, I mean, it was really good. So you covered that then, so that I won't. All right, so I won't ask you again.
Gracious.
All right, so we got the Rangers coming up here on Thursday. The puck is about to drop on this season. Everybody's excited. I know I am. We got back-to-back games at the Garden. Let's talk about Thursday night. Let's talk about where the Rangers are going to be in this East Division. They got, obviously, the number one pick. They got Panarin. They got a nice young squad. Shesterkin's probably going to take over the goaltending reins here with him and Georgiev back there. What do you expect from them in these two games? And just, the season as a whole, are they going to be tough here for the Islanders?
Well, the good thing for the Islanders is that everybody's in the same boat. Nobody has had exhibition games to have a gauge of where they are. So everybody's kind of starting fresh, and it's probably going to be a little bit messy at the beginning, I would think, because of that. But it's not going to take very long for these guys to get under each other's skins. The Rangers are going to be a good team. I think they're going to make the playoffs, as do I think the Islanders are going to make the playoffs.
Wow.
You always think the Islanders are going to make the playoffs.
You know what? They have a What's that, Christian?
I said you always think the Islanders are going to make the playoffs.
Not all the time, but the past couple of years I did.
Yeah. Well, if Brendan Burke famously referenced you, you were the only one that predicted the Islanders to make the playoffs of all whatever NHL
Brendan.
Writers.
He's the best.
Continue, though. I'm sorry.
Yes. Where I was going with this, the Rangers have a very good young hockey club. I think once Sorokin, becomes the number one goalie at some point down the road, obviously it's not going to be this week. Maybe he'll play Saturday. We'll see how that goes. But I think the whole Sorokin, Shesterkin, being really close friends and playing across the river from each other, this rivalry could take another step for the first time in a long time. It should be a lot of fun to watch. But the Rangers still have they have a lot of really good young pieces. Fox, Lafreniere is now in the mix. Kakko should probably take another step. He's already got an NHL size. Chris Kreider is still on this hockey team, which nobody talks about. I mean, he's he's a 25, 30 goal guy all the time.
Sure.
Zibanejad was an absolute beast last year. It's going to be a lot of fun. How is it going to shake out? We'll see how it goes. But like I said, it's probably going to be a little messy at the beginning. But by Saturday, second period, it's going to be fantastic hockey, I would think, up and down. Should be fun.
Brian, out of curiosity, since you have the Islanders and Rangers taking two of those playoff spots, who are the other two that make the play? I mean, I have to assume Boston is in there. Who is that fourth team then?
Oh, Christian, you got to wait for the prediction piece to come out on .com. I can't give you everything.
Yikes.
Come on, man.
What a cheap plug.
Wow. Wow.
So thanks for having me on, boys.
Brian, always good to talk to you, man.
I did want to ask you about Sorokin. I've seen him a couple of times when I was down at camp, and obviously you saw him today during the scrimmage. What do you make of him? First impressions of Ilya Sorokin. I think a lot of people have had a lot of great things to say about him, from Islander players to the coaching staff, and certainly people have watched him in the KHL. But what were your initial impressions of him out there today?
Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, the goal that he gave up to Wahlstrom was not great. He should have had it. There was some miscommunication between he and the defenseman. It's going to take some time. I've only seen him once. It's hard for me to say how good or bad he looks. I think he's going to be fine with time. This is a huge adjustment, no matter how good he was in the KHL. But I always use Shesterkin as the comparison. If that's a fair way to compare guys when they're coming over from the KHL, once he gets adjusted to the North American style and the size of the rink and the NHL game, I think he'll be fine. We'll see. He certainly has the coaching staff, to send them in the right direction here with Korn and Greco.
Well, Brian, a lot of fun with you tonight, as always. All right, Christian. I can't speak for Christian, but I had a good time. Really appreciate you coming on, man.
I was excited for about 2 seconds, and then Brian became Brian again. I was like, I remember this guy,
man. Well,
Sean, anytime you want to speak for Christian, it's totally fine by me.
I really appreciate that, man. Well, look,
of course.
Congratulations on the B Comp Q over at Blue Line Deli.
Enjoy it.
That's a high honor. And it's
I'd
delicious.
say give Christian a bite, but with COVID and everything, you guys got to be careful over there.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, for sure. Good call on that one.
You don't want things to get weird on Twitch, right?
No. If they haven't already, we're trying our best with that. But listen, man, thanks a lot for joining us. Can't wait to have you on again. And enjoy the drop of the puck, huh?
Absolutely. Anytime, boys. Talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Brian Compton on the line, brought to you by Thai Technology. Appreciate him coming on. Always great stuff.
Yes, it was informative.
Even though you begrudgingly got through that spot.
It was informative.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think we're getting some sort of message from beyond with that beep beep.
He's gone now.
Okay.
He's gone. Folks, once again, this is show number 2.
We really do appreciate everyone that's been hanging through some of the technical glitches.
At least it was just a break this time. We are going to have to take another one later.
Why don't we take one now? We'll reset. We'll come back.
All right.
You want to do that right now?
That sounds like a great idea. So, folks, once again, thank you for tuning into Hockey Night New York here at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. We're going to try this one more time.
Customer service is the backbone of any great business, and reliable telecommunication is essential to keeping your client base happy. Introducing Thai Technology, a low-cost, flexible internet phone service founded on the idea that every customer deserves exceptional service while providing simple setup and management and easy integration to clients across the country. Thai Technology will not only create a custom solution tailored to your specific needs, but will partner with you to provide a competitive edge to you and your clients. And if you need support, you won't be routed to an automated call center in another other country, you'll get a live representative that had a personal hand in building your account. So Islander fans, if your business is looking for a change from companies like Spectrum, Verizon, or Optimum, Thai Technology is offering 3 free months of service for any of its affordable packages. Just call 516-856-7800. That's 516-856-7800. Or visit them on the web at ThaiTechnology.com. That's Thai, T-I-E, Technology.com. Thai Technology, the right choice for your internet phone service.
The only thing better than a great Long Island deli is a great Long Island deli run by die-hard Islander fans. Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington, will make any Islander fan feel right at home with its familiar blue and orange theme and Isles decor. Blue Line Deli and Bagels proudly serves Bagel Boss bagels, along with breakfast favorites, hockey-themed heroes, quesadillas, salads, fresh-made smoothies, and much more. So stop on in for delicious food, a clean atmosphere, and a happy staff ready to greet you with friendly service no matter what team you support. Want to place an order for pickup? Call 631-944-3222 or visit BlueLineDeli.com to check out the menu and order online. Blue Line Deli and Bagels, where the great selections will have you saying, yes, yes, yes.
A Hockey Night in New York with Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
Welcome back to Hockey Night in New York. Thanks a lot for tuning in here at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. And Christian, why don't we... Where the hell did you get that? Did you go to Blue Line in the 2 minutes that we were at break? Because I didn't get you one.
No, you did not.
You used the DeLorean.
Donnie hooked me up.
Donnie hooked
He
you up.
saw, and he shot me a text. He said, I'm bringing you one right now.
All right, well, I like the bib, man. You're going to need it. You know, kind of like Brian was talking about you being such a young... Oh, man, that barbecue sauce is going to go all over your pants. I can't wait. All right, folks, let's pick it up here. Always professional at Hockey Night in New York. Once again, thanks a lot for tuning in. And I want to go back to the...
Wow, that is really good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's good stuff.
It'd be great if it wasn't named after Brian Compton.
I mean, the dude was basic. His whole lifeline was the McRib.
Yeah.
Over at McDonald's, and then Donnie was like, "Listen, we got to do something about this. You know, I want you to live past 50.
Yeah.
So,
I want you to actually have real meat in your
your
sandwich.
so let me make you a sandwich
It's
that
actually-
might have some nutrients in it.
It's actually funny. So, I mean, obviously, I joke with Brian because I know his
you?
love of the McRib, but I did kind of assume that a majority of his meals were based around McRib sandwiches,
Processed food.
processed food. So when we went to RJ Daniels a little while back,
Yeah.
grabbed a meal with B Comp, and I was shocked to see him eat something other than some sort of weird processed meat from McDonald's. So that was a nice change of pace for sure.
Yeah, you know, and I'm glad you brought up RJ Daniels because we actually have a little announcement about those guys. So RJ Daniels, located in Rockville Center, right? You had no idea I was going to bring this up. You didn't set that up at all. So we'd like to let you guys know that RJ Daniels in Rockville Center, for every Islander game this season, they're going to have some specials, awesome stuff. They're going to have $5 16-ounce Barn Rocker ales, $14 Bud Light pitchers, $17 domestic buckets, $4 domestic bottles or pints. They're going to have some food specials as well, so head on down for every Islander game this season at 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center, and they're going to be running those specials from pregame up until the final horn or 10 p.m., whichever comes first, obviously given the current rules here in New York. So great stuff going on over there.
Yes.
We'll be stopping in over there as well every now and then. We're going to get involved. Hockey Night in New York. So big thanks to them for getting us involved.
100%.
And great spot over there. Great staff. So definitely, if you're looking for a place to watch Islander games, RJ Daniels has you covered. They'll have the audio. All good stuff. And also beyond that, Saturday, January 16th, our pal and excellent artist, Sean Connors, will be at Blue Line Deli from 9 to 3, completing and raffling off a JG Pajot drawing with proceeds going to Leanne Rosner, her fight against cancer. That's Donnie's mother over there at the Blue Line Deli and Bagel. So a great cause. For a preview of the piece, check out his work over on his Twitter page at BCKT106. Sean's a friend of the show here, and he does a great job. I'm sure a lot of you Islander fans out there probably already follow him on Twitter, and he does some fantastic drawings. So he's going to complete the work over there in-house at Blue Line, and then when he's done, he's going to be raffling it off. You can go over there. You can buy some tickets. I believe you can buy some tickets ahead of time. Again, check out his Twitter page and get all the information. So good stuff going on over there. But getting back to the Barzal contract, there was a certain someone who chimed in on that whole situation before it got completed. One Paul Bissonnette, I believe. Biz Nasty, probably better known these days on the social media. So he was encouraging Mathew to hold out for as long as possible. Now, what's that all about?
Listen,
I'm listening.
I think Paul Bissonnette, Spit and Chicklets is a great podcast, first of all. I mean, they know exactly what they're doing. As far as covering, the NHL and everything going on, with some really great insight. And for the crap that they get, they do some tremendous interviews, and there's no question they do. But I think what Paul Bissonnette was doing and did very successfully was try to rile up the Islanders fan base. And I think he even kind of admitted that on Twitter after Barzy signed.
I think just hockey media in general outside of Long Island they've kind of come to learn how passionate Islander fans are. And you see it not only with Biz Nasty here in this situation, but I feel like they know what they're doing. Like they're egging the fan base on a little bit because they know that passion's going to come out. There's going to be a bunch of clicks, bunch of hits. They're going to be like, why are you talking bad about our team like that, or our guy like this, or whatever?
I've always been one to try to kind of not dive into the national media hates the Islanders.
Well, I didn't say that.
And they're always out to try and rile people up. I don't know if I buy into that. I think every media outlet knows that where their cup of tea is sometimes, and they know, how can I phrase this? They know how to get a click or two. You're right. I'll give you that for sure. But
there's another guy we're going to talk about in a little bit that you could make an argument for as well.
Well, that's true. I think that's more truth to that than anything else. But I mean, you have to understand the medium and the personality behind it. So certainly it riled people up, and I don't think that anyone thought that that's what Barzal was really going to do.
Right.
I think, like Barzal said on the media call the other day, if the people that knew him know how much he likes playing for the Islanders, know how much he loves being on Long Island and playing for the New York Islanders, and he wants to win here. I don't think that's a secret. I think that he really got a taste of that last year, coming, a couple wins away from getting to the Stanley Cup final, a couple wins away from winning a Stanley Cup. So, this is a team that certainly has the opportunity to continue to do that and continue to grow, built around Mathew Barzal. I think Anders Lee's kind of said it best. Mathew Barzal is the Islanders' cornerstone player. The way his game goes the game. And I think that's a very, very fair comment when you look at the way the Islanders have played over the years and the way Mathew Barzal has played over the years. So he's certainly the guy on this team. He's certainly the star of this team. And he's certainly one of the most important pieces of this team, especially going forward when you think of this team being a competitive Stanley Cup contender.
Of course. So. Well, speaking of that other fellow, Steve Simmons, up in Toronto, fresh off of Barzal signing, I believe, had quite the suggestion. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
I think that was... I mean, that if you want to talk about things where you're just trying to troll and get clicks,
So for one, what was the actual...
That was ridiculous.
Suggestion?
The idea was that since Barzal was signed and the contract and the length and all that, now would be the perfect time to turn around and trade him to Columbus. For
what better time?
Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah.
I just like saying Pierre-Luc Dubois.
You look like you were enjoying yourself when you said that, yeah.
Because he fits, Barry Trotz's system more and all this other nonsense. And it was just kind of it was a note in a column that he was trying to fill
Must have been a
space
slow day in Toronto.
And I do not take joy in criticizing other writers and other media
leave that to me. I'll do it.
But it certainly was, the suggestion certainly was kind of like, all right, I get it. You got to fill space. Here's something that just happened, and here's a way to get some clicks and get some more eyeballs.
Just how did he even arrive there? What even sparked that?
I mean, it was in the news, and you looked at the situation, and it's certainly...
I guess so.
It's certainly the situation with Columbus and Pierre-Luc Dubois is not great. It's very clear he does not want to be there. And when you look at Matt Barzal, he certainly would make an option for Columbus. It would be a fit for something that they need there. And you can make an argument that it's a comparable player and that you're training an important piece for an important piece. But I think it was just two things that were in the news, and here's something that let me throw at the wall and see if it sticks. And again, it riled people up, and people tweeted it and linked to it, and it did its job.
Yeah, it probably did, and I don't think there's any chance of that happening. And I think it was just for the purpose of those clicks. As
yeah,
you said.
100%.
Yeah.
I think so anyway. I mean, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. I was going to say something, but
That's
I'll
fair.
just leave it at that.
That's fair. So a pal of the show, Joey Pickles, wanted us to talk about a certain recent acquisition on the Islanders, Timashov.
Can you say his first name?
Nope. I ain't going there. Nope. I
really wanted you to
specifically
say his first
just put
Timashov.
his last name on my notes right there, and that was it. I wasn't even going to attempt it, so I'm going to stick with that. But what's the current situation with that fellow? I believe there's a question about whether he signed or not.
Right.
And I guess where he fits in with the team.
I think it's kind of like some of the other contracts we were talking about. As far as I know, again, he hasn't been on the ice. The Islanders, Barry Trotz hasn't really elaborated on why he hasn't been on the ice. He's been on the ice the first couple days of camp.
Yeah.
And then kind of seemingly has gone away. And so people have asked, New York Post, Molly Walker, who's been on this program before, did ask.
Indeed.
And inquired about what Timashov's status was. And if I'm understanding her reporting correctly, it was that Timashov is still an RFA. He's Islander property, so he can be out there on the ice despite not having signed a contract yet. So that is, I think, where the situation lies as far as we know now. Again, Barry Trotz has been asked, he was asked today about it. Actually, I think by Brian Compton. Maybe Andrew Gross. I don't want to credit Compton too much, but
sure,
it might have been Compton. It might have been Gross.
Okay.
He didn't really say. It was not something that he was really divulging to us. But as far as we know, he hasn't signed a deal yet, which may or may not play into why he hasn't been on the ice. But again, at this point, the Islanders are the Islanders, and especially under Lou Lamoriello, we're not really getting too much information unless they want us to know.
Right, right. So we talked to Brian a little bit about Wahlstrom and Bellows. You noted it just before we went to Brian earlier. Let's dissect that a little bit more. We saw him on a line today at camp with J.G. Pajot, which again got a lot of people excited, myself included.
Yeah.
I mean, if that works out, that is fantastic. If Barry Trotz sees enough in those two guys to start the season on that line, I think that makes for a very exciting start to the season for Islander fans. Because look, that Barry Trotz isn't putting those guys in if he doesn't think they're ready. Now, again, he might have just been trying to get a look at them today. It might have just been, let's see how they do. But he had a lot of good things to say. And maybe, no, I don't know if you want to use the word surprise or not, but maybe Barry Trotz will surprise us, and we see those guys on Thursday against the Rangers. So what do you think about the prospects of that happening, what it says for their development, and what that could say for this team, having them in the lineup in the top 9 going forward?
Yeah, I think it's an exciting prospect because this is something, we've talked about at length. I've written about on NYIHockeyNow.com that this is the time. I mean, this should be Wahlstrom's spot to lose. If he should be the number 1 contender, it's exciting to see that Kieffer Bellows not being impacted by what happened over the summer is being given an opportunity to earn a chance there too. It seems like at the very least he could be on the taxi squad, which would make a lot of sense too for the Islanders.
I don't know. I mean, do you want those guys on the taxi squad?
Here's the dilemma.
Or would it be better for them to be at Bridgeport?
But here's the dilemma. You look at what's going to happen this season. You put them in Bridgeport. They're going to be playing against, and I'm not trying to diminish the talent that's going to be in the AHL this year, but it's going to be a little more.
Not even going to be full teams there.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I looked at the division lineup the other day. I think there's only 3 teams in the Sound Tigers division right now. That might have changed over the last couple of days, but last I looked, because there's certain teams opting out.
They're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
They're still trying to figure out. So at this point, if you're the Islanders and you're looking at the development of some of these guys, does it really behoove you to stick them in the AHL where you're going to have a lot of probably more ECHL talent that necessarily wouldn't be on a lot of these AHL rosters comparative to years previous?
Because a lot of guys will be up with taxi squads,
so,
presumably.
Yes,
presumably.
exactly. Presumably. No, you're right. You're right.
Thanks.
So you're going to have this question of, all right, are these guys really going to develop much more? And granted, Brent Thompson, I know a lot of people have issues with Brent Thompson as far as his development of a lot of players, but you look at what the Islanders are doing.
One of the
few
now. Survivors from the Guard Snow regimen. So,
But I think he's done a better job than people give him credit for with development. I mean, you look at the blue line; a lot of those are guys that he developed.
Yeah, great point.
Even if you want to go as far as some of the forwards on the Islanders roster. Again, Michael Dow Cole is a guy that gets a lot of flack for where
guff.
A lot of guff. He gets a lot of guff. Is this another old man term?
Sure, why not? We're trying to make you feel better about being young. Yeah,
and he gets a lot of guff about
you repeated
the way he plays, considering where he was drafted. And I think again we could debate this whole other side, but. You look where he's drafted and you look at his talent level, maybe he was drafted too high, but he's developed into a very solid, responsible, reasonable bottom
Yeah,
six
as
forward.
we've discussed on the show.
And
for sure.
part of that has to do with playing in Bridgeport. And you have to give some credit to Brent Thompson with that.
Or do you go the other way and say that his development was stunted
well,
that way
see
and
what
he's
I'm
not
doing?
scoring goals?
I'm not doing that. I'm not saying
Alright,
that.
I'm just saying.
But you're fine. You can make that argument. I would disagree. But my point being is, what's at this point, how much development are they really going to get down there? I understand. I think Brent Thompson's a pretty good developer of talent for the Islanders. I know other people don't think that, but is it worth it? I think you're better suited in this situation, at least having them up here in the NHL, up here in the and with at the very least at the taxi squad, because then you're getting the development there with the NHL club every day.
Trotz did say that his decisions regarding the taxi squad will be the hardest decisions he has to make. Now, whether it's because he's taking into account Bridgeport or what have you, but it will be very interesting to see how he wants to play that, because I guess if he even if they're not ready to start right away, you're chuckling over there.
I was
You are
sorry.
right.
I looked at the camera. I have the chat going up, and I looked at my face when I was trying to fix the microphone, and I made a weird face.
Oh, you do that all the time.
I never seen it on
about
camera.
It. Yeah, it's natural. But getting back to my point, I mean, I would say if they stick with the taxi squad, Bellows and Wahlstrom, even if they don't crack the lineup Thursday night, I think that means they're close enough where they're going to get into some games.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Islanders are going to want those guys only being practice players. Like you had Koivula.
Oh, I get that. I understand that.
During the return to play. Aho, right, he came up, right, and he didn't get into any games. So, they're going to have to think about all that and what's going to be best for these guys' developments. I mean, look, it's going to be great for everyone if those guys are on the roster card on Thursday night.
I just don't know. Is it worth those guys running? I mean, this is going to sound weird, but is it worth those guys running circles around comparatively what's going to be ECHLers, I guess,
at least they be playing games.
At
least they're not just showing up for practice every day.
By the way, just to address the question in the comment section, chat, the taxi squad, as far as we know, is something that's just around for this year, and then we'll presumably go back to normal next year or some variation of normal. Someone was asking in the chat.
Gotcha. Yeah, once teams can travel in a more normal fashion,
right,
and we're not just secluded by division, right, or by the bus, as I was saying, right, then you'll probably see the taxi squads get eliminated. Because, I mean, it's a safety net. It really is, because if you look at what happened with Dallas, with Columbus too, right, you had Pittsburgh cancel practices out of emergency. So, already we're seeing some dicey stuff happening, and we haven't even started the season yet.
Yeah.
So they need to have those taxi squads in case we get a report one day that 4 players on the Islanders all tested positive. Well, those guys are out of the lineup for X amount of days.
Right.
And then that's why you got your taxi squad.
Well,
because they can go right in. They're going to be traveling with the team.
There certainly is. It's certainly be an interesting season. Obviously, you just mentioned the situations in Pittsburgh. The Penguins did practice today, I believe. Dallas was on the ice the next not Dallas, Columbus was on the ice the next day after they had their practice canceled.
Yeah, it seems like they're being extra precautionary, which is good.
And then obviously the news out of Dallas, which was not good, which you had 6 players testing positive, 2 staff members,
not good, and
an impact on their season,
delaying the games,
which won't start now until January 19th, which is Tuesday of next week, or not next week, the following week after that. So certain impacting, I believe it's Tampa Bay and it's the Florida Panthers. Those were the 2 teams that Dallas was supposed to play right out of the gate.
There you go.
One of the few cross-country games that, if you will, that were going to be played this year.
Yeah.
So it certainly has that impact, and certainly something that the NHL and the New York Islanders, specifically considering our coverage area, are going to have to deal with. It's bound to happen at some time, whether it's to another team, whether it's to a team that they're expecting to play, or it's to them, their team themselves. I think the interesting thing, and I was listening to another show.
Was
that you look at what these guys, the protocols they got to go through and kind of the precautions that they need to take and the responsibility that they need to have, it really shows a real, I used the word show twice, but I guess I'm going to have to.
It's okay, buddy.
It really shows a real strong sense of trust among these guys to go out and be expecting your fellow teammate to go out there and be as responsible as they can. I don't think the Islanders are going to have to worry about that as much. I think that bonding experience they had in the bubble really kind of transcends kind of what's going on and really brought that team together.
We talked about that too. They're already used to it. Look, they're not going to have all those rules around them. They're going to be left to their own devices a lot more.
Yeah.
But the fact that they've had experience with it already means they're used to it, and hopefully they do the right thing.
Oh, yeah, someone just pointed out. I'm pretty sure something happened with the Canucks, too. I think they
Is
had
that right?
to cancel practice as well today.
That's not a good sign. Not a
So
good
it's
sign
it's
before
happening.
the season starts.
Well, but if you remember, the NFL went through it, the NBA went through it, the Major League Baseball went through it. It's
I don't
gonna
care
happen,
about those sports.
but it's going to happen across the. This is not something that's a surprise. I mean, I think did we get a little too presumptuous that because of the bubble work that things were going to go 100% smoothly? Maybe that's the expectation right now. Why so many people are surprised? But I think if you use your common sense and logic, then you'd have to realize this is going to happen somewhere. You can be as safe and cautious as you want, and it still impacts you. You also have to think about these guys live with families. If a family member goes out to the grocery store, let's say, and slips up just a little bit,
anything can happen.
It could be an issue. So this is something they plan for. It's why these taxi squads are so important too, which makes, going back to our original conversation, which makes those decisions so much tougher, and in turn really makes it tough for the guys that you're trying to develop, and you have to make decisions about, all right, do they belong in the AHL where they're probably going to be better than most of the guys down there,
right?
Or should they be up here with us learning from the pros and get an opportunity to potentially be in some games?
And also wanting to have a better option if and when they need to go to the taxi squad.
Right.
Because maybe they consider Bellows or consider Wahlstrom a better option compared to somebody else who might be there. And so maybe they sacrifice their games in Bridgeport so that they can be with the squad, so they can step in if and when somebody gets hurt or somebody gets sick or what have you.
I mean, the AHL this season is going to be fascinating. Beside from how they kind of situate everything going on, because you have teams backing out. You had a couple teams already at the jump saying we're not gonna play this year. And it makes sense because the NHL is a very gate-driven league. The AHL even more so when you're talking about the importance of for the financial stability for a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
I mean, that's even more important than anything else.
Well, Christian, I think it's time to do the Hero of the Week. What do you say?
All right.
It's time.
I say.
Okay, you say. So we're going to do that right now. So I'm going to press some buttons. It's so obvious. And here we are. When you hear this song, that means it's time for the Blue Line Deli and Bagels Hero of the Week, brought to you by the Blue Line Half-Price Hero of the Week. And as you can see on your screen if you're watching live with us, it is none other than, there it is, the B-Comp Q. Sweet, delicious B-Comp Q that Christian and I were sampling on the show earlier. Boneless ribs, barbecue sauce, pickles, onions on a hero. So, Christian, you went first last week, and I'll do the honors this week. And I think we have some better options as far as the heroes go this time around, because some things happened around the team. And I'm going to go, this is easy, it's kind of cheap, but, our options are limited. But I'm going with number 13, Matt Barzal. There he is in all his handsome glory, Christian. And look, the number one center, he is in the fold for another 3 years. He will still be within his unrestricted free agency, which means he will still be a restricted free agent. So hopefully we see a nice, long extension by the time that comes around. At least we have 3 years to wait. He's in the fold, and he's going to be leading this first line, leading this team, hopefully even growing from what we've seen from him already, so that the Islanders can put some pucks in the net. So, Christian, that is my hero of the week. Take it away.
Yes, so my hero of the week is, I think this is a man who deserves a lot of credit for figuring this out, because it was a very tight situation, a very tough situation to figure out, and that would be Mr. Lou Lamoriello, as you can see there.
There he is right there.
I was waiting for you to hit the button.
I hit it there. It's right there.
And I think he does deserve a lot of credit, because this was not an easy contract to get done. I think that this was something that was in the works for a while. I think they were close the entire time, if we're being honest here. And it was just a matter of getting the right financial situation for Matt and for the team. Unfortunately, they couldn't figure out a way to get a long-term deal done. Unfortunately for the Islander fans that are listening and watching this. But you have to appreciate the fact that Matt seemed pretty committed to it, and that Lou gave it a shot. And that he seemed to put his best foot forward to try and make a deal. And honestly, it sounded like they were this close to making a deal with Detroit in the last 24 hours or so before things kind of fell apart there. So certainly the guy deserves a lot of credit, because this was not an easy situation, and I don't know if a lot of general managers would be able to pull it off at the end of the day.
Yeah, perhaps not, but like you said, he's in, and even though from the outside fans are sweating, it looks like there wasn't a lot of sweating involved internally. Like, they had something worked out. It was just a matter of what they could actually squeeze out of the cap, and they ended up in probably not plan A, maybe B or C. But bottom line is he signed. He's thrilled about it. Everybody's happy. So there you have it, folks. Matt Barzal, Lou Lamoriello, your heroes of the week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels half-price hero of the week, which is the B Comp Q, named after Brian Compton. And you can get that half price starting tomorrow through next Sunday when we do it all over again. Just mention Hockey Night in New York when you go in to 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Get yourself a delicious B Comp Q.
Do you think Donnie will send us more sandwiches next week?
I hope so. I mean, maybe.
I could get
I
used
don't
to
know.
this.
I mean, you could, I could, but I don't know if the viewers could get used to us just grossly chomping away at sandwiches.
I thought we were very
on the air.
eloquent with our eating.
I like the fact that you put the bib on. That was nice.
I tried.
You know?
I tried.
Yeah, you didn't get anything on you, so that's nice.
That's impressive. It's
Yeah,
also a dark.
I'm
It's like a darker
right. It might have
red
blended
sweatshirt. It
in.
would've
Yeah, it's
blended in.
almost barbecue, kind of.
I actually
Not
thought
really.
this through.
You probably did.
Not thought this through.
All right.
Anyone who thinks I thought this through, you're silly.
He did, folks.
You're
He did.
silly.
He's very meticulous. Very meticulous. So what else? What else?
Well, we do have a couple questions in the comment section.
Let's hit the
that
comment
that we
section.
didn't address.
Yes, thank you guys for hanging out with us and participating. We love
Yes.
it. Give us let's hear it. What do we got?
There was one question about if we will eventually see Bellows, Wahlstrom, and Barzal and Wahlstrom on the same line in the future. Do you think that happens?
I think that's up to Wahlstrom, right? And that's if he ends up worthy of playing next to Matt Barzal. But it's true, because look, that's the hope, that's the dream here,
Yeah.
right? He was a first round pick. He was very hyped. A lot of hopes around this kid. And you know, what's the big thing that you've heard about him since the draft? He's got a great shot, right? And that's exactly what you want next to Matt Barzal. So the near future, maybe not. Maybe he works himself into the third line and works his way up. And that's not a bad thing, learning from a guy like J.G. Pageau, who plays
not at all.
a phenomenal two-way game. And let's remember, Barry Trotz wants everybody on this squad working on their two-way game. So I have no problem seeing him starting there. And and again, if he ends up playing next to Matt Barzal one day, that means that he's developing at the clip that we all hope that he does, right? You maybe, you look back at Dal Cole, we brought him up earlier, right? You had dreams of him riding shotgun with John Tavares,
Right.
One day back in the past, right? Didn't pan out. And now Wahlstrom is kind of that next man up here, and I guess to a lesser degree Bellows, where these are guys who are known for their offensive weapons, right? So, I certainly could see it happen, and he's just got to work his way up the lineup.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the dream, right? That's what is
definitely on the power play one day.
Yeah.
That we're gonna see them on the power play. I think eventually.
I would agree. Again, I think that's the dream. You want to see these guys succeed, and especially guys with the offensive pedigree that, especially Wahlstrom, comes with. That's where you'd want to see him. You want to see him in the top six. Specifically, I'm sure if you kind of want to see that the excitement and that scoring prowess, you want to see him with Mathew Barzal on a line, and obviously, it's no secret the skill that Matt has on the ice. The one thing that we didn't really talk about, and the one thing that Barry Trotz has talked about a lot the last 24, 48 hours was that his desire to see Matt, not only, everyone knows he's got a great offensive game, but he wants to see Matt develop it, Matt Barzal. He wants to see, I don't know, I keep calling him by his first name like we're buddies.
That's okay. Maybe you are.
Where he wants to see Barzal really expand and develop his game in all aspects that he has, in his own end, offensively, make him a complete player. That's one thing he really has talked about the last couple days and today as well. He kind of wants to see him be able to play both ends of the ice. He wants to be able to see him, the dream, I think the phrase he used, his goal was to see, Matt Barzal play in a situation where he's out there taking a big face-off draw. He's out there on the penalty killer, really developing his all-around game. So it is interesting to see that's kind of on the mind. Everyone knows the skill that Barzal has, but they want to see it develop into something a little more as well beyond just that offensive ability. And I think you're seeing it slowly but surely come along as well for him. You've definitely noticed, obviously, the production, the scoring numbers have gone down a little bit since his I was going to say his freshman year, his rookie year. And
His freshman year, nice.
But you're certainly seeing different aspects of his game get much better over the last couple of years, especially under Barry Trotz.
Yeah, for sure. We got anything else there on the questions?
Someone did ask about if we had any thoughts on what role UBS Arena will play when New York State rolls out sports betting. Which is a very interesting question. And it's very topical. Obviously, there is a lot of talk in Albany about trying to get sports betting legalized, and it's been, in New York, obviously they've seen what an economic it's been for the state of New Jersey, especially talking about Atlantic City and some of the other casino towns in that state. It certainly helped them out, especially during the current financial situation with COVID and everything. But as far as UBS Arena goes, I don't think I have too much of an inkling. I don't think that that's something that they're really thinking about at the moment, to be honest.
As in allowing betting in the arena
so like,
when there's events going on?
So I think what this person is, our commenter is Big Walt Diesel, by the way.
Okay, yeah, sure.
If you go to in the New Jersey Devils Arena, Prudential Center, there is a sport. I think there's a sports book.
Really?
In the Prudential Center.
I did not know that.
I don't know which
Makes
one
sense.
it is.
Jersey, yeah.
But there is one in New Jersey in the Prudential Center. So I imagine, and maybe he can correct me if he's listening. And I guess not. But I was looking to see if he.
we took too long to address it.
But it is an interesting question. I don't know the answer to it. I don't think anyone's really addressed it or thought about it, at least right now for the Islanders. But certainly I'm sure teams and the state of New York and a lot of people in the sports industry are taking notice. And there is, I think, an excitement and some push to get sports betting legalized in the state and to benefit from the financial income that it brings to New York State and I guess some of these other teams and these sports books and whatever.
Okay, yeah, that'll be interesting to watch now that things are becoming a little more lax on the gambling side of things, I suppose.
When you say it like that.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how it's going, right? I mean, it seems like more and more over time, you're seeing more online gambling. And I mean, look, I'm not big on that stuff, so I don't have a pulse on that.
I'm sure teams are taking notice, but I'm sure there's I don't want to say hesitation, but there is obviously always a trepidation from the league offices. I think they've obviously become a lot more lax. You look at some of the sponsorships.
They have a team in Las Vegas now.
Well, I was going to go a step further and say, they have sponsorship deals with FanDuel and DraftKings.
Right? Yeah,
and
that's
the NHL website, I think,
so
even
obviously
has,
they've embraced it.
Yeah, so I think
money
it's just
talks, baby.
So it'll be interesting. It's a topical. It's a great question. It's a great question because it's another source of income for these teams, for these leagues, and obviously, again, talking about it at a state level.
Speaking of additional sources of income, this just popped into my head. How about the sponsorships of the divisions?
Oh, I saw people get so uptight about this, and you know what? I get it.
I think you got to cut them a break for this year, and they did say it was only for this year.
Yeah, but even if
because they're losing money hand over fist right now.
Even if it wasn't for this year, who cares? Like, is it really like?
I think there has to be a line drawn somewhere. But whether that's the division names or not.
But what slippery slope are we going down here?
Well, look, some people are getting a little, when is it going to be teams, the team names after sponsors? I don't think we'll ever see it go that far. But I guess you try to maintain some level of that sacredness of the game and of the sport and stuff like that. So I understand. But as people have pointed out on social media, nobody is actually going to call these divisions by the sponsors. Like on this show, neither one of us are going to be like the M&T division.
I'm making
or whatever
100% effort.
As soon as I brought it up.
This is Mass Mutual. So
Mass Mutual. I even picked the wrong bank.
The East Division presented by Mass Mutual. I will now 100% say that.
And the Scotia.
The Scotia up in Canada.
I mean, you can do it. I'm not going to. It's still going to be the East Division to
presented
me.
Presented by Mass Mutual.
Bastard. It's just the East Division. But
presented by Mass Mutual.
All right, we're going to get past this. But look, I understand people, kind of being like, because again, how far does it go? People are already getting a little, upset about the sponsorship logos on the helmets.
I know. That was a whole
jerseys.
That was a whole.
So I understand you get worried that this opens the floodgates for other stuff. Like I never want to see a jersey just checkered in sponsors up and down all over the place. By the way, this is brought to you by Blue Line Deli and Bagels and Thai Technology. But
that was well played.
Thanks. But it can get overboard. It can. So I hope it doesn't lead that way. I'm glad that the league already said, hey, chill, guys. It's just going to be this year.
I don't have a hard and fast. I mean, I guess I do have a hard and fast opinion, which is to make fun of people who have hard and fast opinions about this. Which I mean, I don't know. Again, I think you kind of get where my point is. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think that the fact that people are making it such a big deal is kind of funny. I mean, these guys got to, the NHL, like you said, is losing money hand over fist. They got to do it. Also, you're talking about a league that is fourth. Well beyond the other three big sports in this country.
Yeah, so they're hurting the most, so I get it.
Financially, even under good terms, half these teams don't make money. If it wasn't for the rev share, half of these teams wouldn't exist.
That's a great point. Yeah,
So the idea, I can't take credit. That was something that was pointed out on the Steve Dangle podcast, which I had been listening to the other day.
Okay.
But it's a great point.
Okay.
That
watching Maple Leaf podcast, huh?
it's a great podcast. They do a tremendous job.
Whatever.
It's a great point though, because it's factual. It's true. The top 5 or 10 teams in this league save the rest of the teams that are in this league. The Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, Tampa Bay Lightning. These teams that struggle to bring in Arizona Coyotes. These teams that struggle to bring in fans or drive attention, drive revenue. That's who benefits from this. So you need these different sources of income. You need these kind of non-traditional ideas. And I don't think it's the end of the world that you're going to have a sponsor on a helmet. Big deal, Is it really going to be that cumbersome?
The sponsors on the helmets I don't care about.
Is it really that big of a deal that you're going to see the Mass Mutual or Scotiabank or Discover or Toyota?
Because everybody's going to, like I said, everybody's going to ignore it. Now, maybe you might go out of your way to start calling them by those names, but anybody outside of that, nobody's going to start referring to them by the
It's for the broadcast. The broadcast have to do it.
You see the logo or the name up there, and that's pretty much it.
I think the perfect example was the Nassau Coliseum. It was called
out of control.
NYCB Live, the home of the Nassau
and poor Brendan Burke and Butch Goring, right? So when they would actually have to say the name out, right? They couldn't just say the Nassau Coliseum. They had to always call it by NYCB Live, brought to you.
Home of the Nassau Coliseum,
right?
Whatever it was.
It was a mouthful. That's
a lot of papers just called it the Nassau Coliseum. So, was it really money well spent by NYCB Live? I don't know.
Or NYCB. It didn't get me over there any more than I would have gone there. But, it's all about getting your name out there. It's all about branding.
But that's my point. It's kind of silliness. It's one of those things that people get up in arms with, and then we all move on. And then, years from now, we're like, oh, remember how funny it was when people thought it was so crazy they put sponsorship? I'm pretty sure they probably had the same thought when they put advertisements on the board.
Like eventually you'll be Christian Arnold, brought to you by Huggies Diapers.
100%.
Right, like
Huggies
human beings will eventually be sponsored.
Huggies wants to write
You'll
a check
get a tattoo.
Now. I'll do it.
You'll get a tattoo.
I put this on Twitter. If anyone, Scotia, Mass Mutual, Honda, or Discover want to sponsor my future child, you let me know. You have naming rights. You have sponsorship. You just cut that check now.
Wow. Big time sellout here, folks.
100%.
Well, at least you're upfront about it. I give you credit for that. You're not hiding it.
I don't hide it.
That's good. That's good. So, a couple of small nuggets, I think, before we wrap this thing up. Were there any other questions you wanted to address? Or are we good for now?
I think we're good for now.
We're good for now. Okay.
Mainly because I have to make this weird face when I look at the screen.
That's your resting face? Like your normal resting face is weird, so that's really not a problem. It just gets also weird.
But I think we're good on the questions.
Okay, fair enough. So a couple things we did glaze over that I'd like to at least mention, and I believe you broke the news on Twitter. That was the Islanders signing of a new goaltender, Francis Marat. I don't know. Never heard of the guy before he was signed, but apparently the Islanders linked him to a deal, and he's probably going to be playing with Skarich.
Yes.
Down in Bridgeport. So why don't you talk about
Jacob
that?
Skarich.
Jacob, yes. Or Jakob, perhaps?
Perhaps.
Okay.
No, but someone screenshotted this thing that he posted on Twitter. So in Twitter, he put it on his Instagram page. So it really wasn't me breaking the news.
So you didn't do the work.
I was just
there's a surprise.
I was just the person that was eagle-eyed enough to notice someone put it on their Instagram page.
Right. You were just scrolling through your social media like usual. Right.
Well, yeah.
Right.
I'd probably break a lot more news if people put more stuff on TikTok, because I get so lost when I'm on TikTok. It's insane. Yeah.
I barely know what that is. I know it exists. I know. To me, it's just like, oh, that's just Vine with another name, right? Like it's just people making videos.
Longer. Anyway, but yes. So he is a former Robert Morris product. And he played at Clarkson University his last year. He spent 3 years.
And they did need another goalie.
And they
found him.
It's essentially a depth signing. Of
course.
It's a guy they needed for Bridgeport. They need 5-6 goaltenders to be ready to go, because anything, and
especially now with the taxi squad.
Yeah, exactly.
You might have seen Schneider. Well, you would have seen Schneider with Bridgeport if not. For
most likely. But yes, you're gonna have Schneider's your guy on the taxi squad, and you need to be prepared after that. So he brings in. He seems like a pretty talented goaltender at the collegiate level. Was a starter at Robert Morris all 3 years, and then went to Clarkson on his graduate transfer. So he's a graduate student. His last year at his only year at Clarkson University. So certainly a guy. It's a note to be made, because he'll be playing in Bridgeport, but really not. Not to insult him, but really not much of a much more of a note after that, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, he's signed. He's part of the organization,
yes.
And we wish him well. We wish him luck. And, of course, folks, we would be remiss if we didn't bring up this last bit of news because no, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say this might be the end because I've said that many times. But
I know
you know what I'm talking about.
I was actually kind of confused.
Former number 66, Joshua Ho-Sang, was waived today by the New York Islanders. So that is the latest chapter in the never-ending saga. Do you make anything of that? Do you have anything to say about that?
I mean, at this point, it just seemed inevitable. What I mean, like, what else is there to say? People were shocked that Ho-Sang wasn't invited to training camp. I mean, I know I was shocked. I was surprised.
He gonna, if he doesn't get picked up, which I'm guessing he won't, maybe he ends up on a taxi squad somewhere. But let's say he gets through. Is he going to play at Bridgeport?
I mean, his contract is a two-way deal, so I'd imagine he's one of the guys that plays in Bridgeport.
Or is he back in San Antonio?
No, I mean, I think he goes to Bridgeport. They need bodies. I mean, if anything else, they need players down there. So perhaps that was Lou Lamoriello's thought process when they signed, Ho-Sang to a contract, which was,
please write this book. I want to know. I want these questions answered. Just why? How are we still here?
I don't think we'll ever fully get the complete picture, but it is an unfortunate scenario for everybody. I think for Josh Ho-Sang, I think it's an unfortunate situation, another bad turn of events. I think he's a really talented guy. I think that I think that there's more to the story than we know. And hopefully one day, like you said, someone will write the book or we'll get more detail.
Yeah, a little expose.
But I think there's more to the story than we're being told. And I'm not saying that against Josh or for Josh. I'm just saying I think that there's something to be said.
I wish he was riding shotgun on the second line right now, dishing passes. I wish that it went that way. I don't know why it didn't. It doesn't seem like it has to do with his talent, or maybe it was his deficiency on defense, because you know how he has to be defensively responsible in the NHL. Whatever the case may be, I don't think anybody here, our chat room, anybody outside the organization has any idea why the saga went on this long and went on the ups and downs that it ended up going on.
Yeah, Mason Jobst also waived today, but obviously not nearly as noteworthy as Josh Ho-Sang.
Right.
We've been talking. I think someone noted in the chat earlier that it's 2021. We're still talking about Josh Ho-Sang.
Yes,
I mean that is pretty incredible.
To 2021. Well, we'll just leave it there, and if there's any other Josh Ho-Sang news to come up in the future, we'll cover it.
Would be great if he signed.
We have to.
If he went to the Pittsburgh Penguins after all this, like the Penguins decide, let's pick up Josh Ho-Sang.
But then he refuses to report when he finds out he can't wear number 66.
Yeah,
and then he gets banished again.
It would be incredible.
Well, are we good here? We got anything else?
I think we're good.
You think we're good? All right, folks. So I'm gonna cue the music here. There it is. I'm gonna raise it a little bit because that's a little low. So, folks, want to thank you all for tuning in to Hockey Night New York here on twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. Send a huge thanks out to our pal Brian Compton over at NHL.com. You're still working on that Sammy, huh, pal? Love it. All right, folks, I want to remind you that we are proudly sponsored by Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Head on over for great food, great service, and great people. Check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com for their great selections and hockey-themed heroes. And as you saw on air, the beautiful, delicious B Comp Q, which Christian's having a hard time chowing down now, but we're not surprised by that. Also want to thank Ty Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. Check them out at tytechnology.com for all your telecom needs, or give them a call at 516-856-7800 and get 3 free months of service. 3 free months of service. Call them. And also the Hewlett House of Tires, located at 1740 Rockaway Avenue in Hewlett, offering a free tire rotation with oil change and $20 off tire alignment. Just mention Hockey Night in New York when you stop in, or call for an appointment at 516-593-2200. And you can also check them out at HewlettHouseOfTires.com. And once again, folks, a huge thanks to you for joining in, hanging out with us in the chat room.
Yes.
We love the feedback. And you know what? It's only show number 2. We're going to get this right. We're going to get it right.
Maybe by show 50.
Yeah, maybe 50, 55. But we hope you guys had a better experience. I know last time some of you guys had a little problem with the feed, but I think we were a little better this time from what I can tell.
Yes.
Obviously, if you have any feedback, please let us know. Any comments, questions, stuff you want to talk about, definitely participate in the chat. We love it. And remember, you can always tune in live or for the archives at HockeyNightNY.com. All your favorite podcast providers. And remember to follow us on social media at Hockey Night NY. Follow myself on Twitter at Shawnee Hockey. Follow Christian at C_Arnold01.
Do that.
And I think that's it, folks. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Now, how do I turn this off? We're gonna put this screen on. There we go. I love it. It's great. It's great. Fantastic.
Oh, my goodness.
Folks, thanks a lot. The stream is ending now, as you can see. Okay, bye.